Welcome to the 19th season of the Nitwits, a weekly roundtable discussion on the Nittany Lions and the only show of its kind in the state. Our Nitwits panel features Neil Riddell of the Altoona Mirror and Mark Brennan of FightOnState.com. Between them, they've covered Penn State for 70 years. The Nitwits are hosted by WTAJ Sports Director Alex Colley, and each week we welcome a former Nittany Lion as our special guest analyst. The Nitwits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, an independent firm and a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue, Altoona, just ask rental, buy what you want, rent what you need. By The Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By Health South, your rehab choice. Health South Altoona, ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, uniform, and mat rentals. By Reed and Selaney Orthodontics, Dr. Reed and Selaney provide orthodontics for children and adults. By W.S. Lee & Sons, your local food distributor specializing in distributing a full line of food service products to restaurants, schools, and institutions throughout central Pennsylvania. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Sunday.
Welcome to the Nitwits season finale. Penn State comes up short in the Rose Bowl. Here to break it all down, we have Neil Riddell of the Altoona Mirror, Mark Brennan of FightOnState.com. I'm your host, Alex Colley, and in the chair this week, the only accurate prediction of the regular season record, Joe Nastasi.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep. Well, gentlemen, it was a roller coaster of a game. What's your takeaway from the 103rd Rose Bowl?
Well, I mean, I think that this Penn State stamped itself as maybe the team the most on the rise in the entire country. Just a tremendous year, a great game. Of course, disappointment in coming back and not being able to put it away. But what they've gained from this year, as what they've shown their fans, and the learning experience that they've endured, it's just been. I just don't think there could have been a better picture other than finishing this game off.
Yeah, I think that's what we've had a few days to get back and maybe put things into perspective a little bit, and I think that's it. Obviously, it was a disappointing loss, and you could see it on the faces of the players and the coaches afterward. But listen, the difference between winning and losing this game, other than the pride that you take, is probably going to be the difference between being ranked third and fourth in the final poll. So from that perspective, it's not a big deal. But to show the kind of heart that they showed all year and a kind of determination, all those little things, those intangibles. Yeah, I mean, they proved that they could play with just about anybody skill-wise, but to get those intangibles back, to me, was just a huge thing for them.
Yeah, when you had the opportunity to really take a breath and reflect a little bit, that loss, and I don't even like to call it that for the Rose Bowl, gave you an opportunity to look back and see how special that season was, what they accomplished, and also the ability to take a couple of individuals, gain momentum, and then the belief system. And that was one of those really, really special teaching moments, really, from a coaching, parent, any kind of standpoint when you look at it, and how they gained that momentum and what happened during the season to create one play, then happen again and again, and so on and so forth. And that's where it put us right there in the Rose Bowl, where it really easily could have been 500 season.
When you look at this 5-year now body of work, and what I think is so impressive is they've brought the program now all the way back from the dungeon of where no one thought. Now there's been some changes with the sanctions being lifted and whatnot, but now for the first time, this will be Penn State football going into next year, where every game they lose is going to be a disappointment, going to be dissected. They're going to be expected to win every game like they always used to when you were playing.
Well, there's no question about it, and you said it. Now the expectations have completely changed. And you know, and that's what's remarkable about the staff. And I don't think, I mean, I know recently James has gotten a lot of credit, but where he started and where he's gotten us to now, I mean, he had to put all those pieces of the puzzle together. And you're right, you know, going from left for dead to where we're at now in the expectations at top 5, let alone a ranked team. I mean, we were looking at, boy, it'd be nice to be ranked. Now you're looking at, like, I can't believe we didn't get, you know, into the playoff system. So, you know, it's interesting, and I love how he stayed to the grind, such a teaching moment. Great coaching job by that and that team holding them together like that.
Yeah, the other thing that I really loved about this season is, listen, Joe Paterno's methods got Penn State to 409 wins during his career. Mm-hmm. You cannot argue with the way he got things done. But James Franklin is also putting his own stamp on this program. You know, this isn't, you know, players, they're staying at a team hotel that's in downtown LA. They're not going out 2 weeks early. And I'm not being negative toward Joe's way, but it's showing that you could play Penn State football and do things the Penn State way with somebody else coaching. And for Franklin to be able to do that, you know, open locker room after the game.
I think that's
all
standard
these
Rose
things.
Bowl policy.
But in 2008, it was supposed to be standard Rose Bowl policy,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah,
didn't
they paid
quite.
the fine.
Right, but my point
Right.
being is that they're proving that you can win and do things the Penn State way. Joe, I know you want to chime in on
Sure.
it, with James Franklin's stamp on it.
Well, yeah, I mean, we go on and on forever about this, but you're right. I mean, Joe's was, you know, closed doors, no open practice, nothing. I think the times have changed that. I mean, I'm not sure how Joe would survive in this environment just because of how much access everyone has to everything. So it is interesting, but man, I'll tell you what, they have a lot of fun, but they take care of business. So, you know, when you're looking at from a recruiting standpoint, you're saying, hey, look, we're going to go out here and take care of business with no names on the back of the shirts. We're going to do the blue and white. We're going to do it the right way, but you're going to have a lot of fun in the process. That you talk about a win-win. I mean, he's doing a great job with that.
The bar has now been raised, too, to where, and I think this was a good experience. Hey, you met up with a team. First of all, Penn State doesn't generally see great passing attacks through the year.
Sure.
You know, that a little bit higher level against USC.
A lot higher level.
Yeah, and all the little things that, you know, I think when you want to be at the absolute champion, you know, you had 2 players suspended. That was disappointing. And I think it really loomed large in this game. And just some other little things that happened in this game. Not being ready for the opening kickoff. Little things added up to big things in the end result.
Well, and that's the thing we've said all year, though. They did not all year play a perfect game. No. There was never an instance, and not that you expect people to play perfect games, but there was never an instance where you thought, wow, they put every single thing together. So there's still a lot of areas where even after this great year, they can improve. And, you know, barring the guys who are going out to, a little bit early, you know, what are they losing? I mean, they're losing some good players, but boy, they're bringing so many really good players back that, you know, as you said, the bar has been raised. Expectations are there, and that's what Penn State football is all about.
As far as the Rose Bowl finish, Coach Franklin said afterwards, playing for overtime is not who we were. You okay with the way he called it at the end?
No question about it. I mean, if you look at it, that's what got us there. I mean, look at all the games that we didn't play to not win. So, you know, that was USC they won that game. Penn State did not lose that game. I have absolutely no problem with it. He makes the catch there, it gets tipped up, and we kick a field goal. All of a sudden, we're real smart by not taking overtime. We didn't stop them those last 2-3 drives. I mean, we didn't stop them. It didn't come close to stopping them. So, I mean, going into overtime, I didn't like either. I had no problem with it at all.
Yeah, I think that's one of those where it's a good call if you win.
Right.
If you don't,
Yeah.
it might not be.
Yeah.
And I agree. There's no reason to think Penn State was going to stop USC. But at that point, they had the momentum. Hey, you get another of these, you know, million TV timeouts. You get a little break in the action. They've been real good in the red zone with Moorhead and creative plays. It worked for them against Minnesota and a couple other places. Mm-hmm. So I can't 100% say that they shouldn't have played for overtime. I think maybe they could or should have extended the game.
Mm-hmm. The only issue that I had is toward the end, it looked like it was almost either run Barkley or throw that deep ball, which worked really well for them all year.
Right,
it was really
right.
good for them, but I think USC knew either one of those were coming.
Yeah.
The Gesicki pass was nearly intercepted right before the
Right.
pass to Godwin, and the safety was lurking back there just waiting for it. So I think maybe they could have varied things up a little bit, but this is,
Yeah.
Sunday night, Monday morning quarterbacking.
Sure.
That's the fun of following this stuff. But that would be my only criticism.
All right. Well, when we return, we're going to take a look at the season as a whole. The Nitwits will be right back.
The Nitwits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, an independent firm and a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue, Altoona, just ask rental, buy what you want, rent what you need.
I'm Adrian Namus from the Penn State Nittany Lions, and you're watching the Nitwits.
Wasn't the ending that Penn State wanted to their season, but there's a lot to build off and a lot of players coming back. So, what are your takeaways from the 2016 Penn State season?
I think you go to the guy who predicted the 10-2 season.
Hey,
11-2.
Well, I said 10-2 regular season.
Okay.
You know,
You should have
not
catapulted from here to ESPN on that.
Yeah, I should have. What I saw here, obviously being very optimistic early in the year, and maybe not that. I looked at it like they're probably going to lose a game they shouldn't, which was in a sense Pitt, I guess you would call it, and then win one they shouldn't, maybe Ohio State. But it is what it is. But with this team and the high expectations and what they have coming back, those are a couple of spots that I don't want to say afford to lose guys, but there are spots where we got guys coming in, guys that have played. So really looking forward to seeing how we assemble this next year, and really on the offensive line side. I think we're going to be able to run the ball a lot better. We have a stable full horse at running back. Should be a lot of good football here coming up, and the expectations are high. So now we're going to see how we operate when we're looking at people in the rear view a little bit.
I'm curious how the defense. I mean, obviously there's a lot of talent left on offense. I'm curious how the defense grows. It was exposed a little bit. Hey, you drop back 53 times as USC did. Mm-hmm. You got to have multiple sacks, and they weren't able to do it. So they played a lot of young people up there, but I thought it just was a little too easy for USC at times. I'm curious how the defense will grow up after this.
Well, I mean, I think a big part of that game, I know we're talking about the season in general, but to me, the turning point of that game is when Brandon Bell went out. And I think as you look moving forward on both sides of the ball, the one guy that is going to hurt that they lose is Brandon Bell, who I thought was playing as well as anybody in the Big Ten defensively toward the end of the season. But otherwise, the one thing we learned this year, they were much deeper, I think, than anybody expected, especially on defense. Everybody was wondering what was going to happen with that D-line, losing the guys to the NFL. Right. And all of a sudden, Coach Chaos, Sean Spencer, rotates in 10 guys. Yep. They rotated a ton of guys in the secondary. Linebacker, we know what happened there. So defensively, to me, I was impressed by the depth, and I think that's going to continue next year. Linebacker still a little bit of an issue there. Yeah. They got to get some guys ready to play.
If I can add to that real quick, I like the fact that they did plug and play on defense. I think what happens in those situations is you get guys with so much experience, and now here you go. I mean, a guy leaves, another guy comes in, and I don't want to say you don't miss him, but in a sense you don't. I mean, you have another guy ready to go. You used all those D linemen. I would like to see those other guys maybe get some more touches during the year at running back, because I think we have a lot of really good running backs, and maybe give him a little bit more of a second half. But hey, the guy has a lot of energy, and he plays well in the fourth anyway. We're talking about Barkley.
Yeah.
As far as MVPs, offense, defense, special teams, who stood out?
Well, I would say Barkley was probably your best player, but I think McSorley was your MVP on offense in my mind, and I think Brandon Bell, as Mark said, I just think he was terrific. It was a shame that really for the last couple of years he hasn't been able to stay totally healthy. Special teams, maybe Gillikin.
Yeah, I wrote that McSorley was the MVP, and the reason was because, listen, you know what you're going to get out of Barkley, but to me the season changed when McSorley got that read option down and started to do some running in the Minnesota game. All of a sudden, McSorley being a better, more versatile threat made Barkley even better. If you look at Barkley's yards per carry numbers before that Minnesota game and after, they really changed. I mean, defensively, you could go with Marcus Allen, who made a ton of tackles, but again, I'm going to go with Brandon Bell. When he got back in that Ohio State game, that defense was just better almost the rest of the year. And I think Tyler Davis would have to be my MVP on special teams. A clutch kicker is just huge for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, I think it's all been said there. I like Cabinda on the defensive side of the ball. I thought he was a general back there. But again, I'm a huge Marcus Allen fan. I mean, he's a run stopper. He really lays the lumber. Offensively, again, you got your running back, you got Barkley, probably the best player on the team. But McSorley and probably the MVP was Joe Moorhead. I mean, here's a guy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, here's a guy
Yep.
that come in and was able to do and orchestrate. I mean, if you look at it, he never panicked. I mean, and
MVC.
yeah, there you go, there you go, there you go. So I mean, again, I think I agree though with Trace being in a situation where he had to come up and make plays, and that signal caller has to. The team feeds off of him.
Yeah, the amazing thing about Moorhead is he did it with somebody else's players. I mean, he didn't recruit any of these guys. He wasn't even involved in any of it.
Right.
To come in, and what is that thing? Like he could beat you with yours, or you could be,
really
he
smart.
clearly,
He's just really, really smart. I mean, I've had a chance to be around a little bit. Really, really smart guy.
Really
knows it.
calm, too. They didn't have a lot of issues with the play clock running out. They get that defense down in that set position, and I think, make them stay there for a while.
Yeah.
It was a
Sometimes
brilliantly
you go,
coached team this year.
Except for the one thing, they don't go under center that Neil
that's
always
right.
harps on. Mr. Wet Blanket, they don't go under center in short yardage, which I warmed up to. I was okay.
He'll work on that in the offseason when they're trying to put away a national championship next year.
All right. Well, one area the team's going to have to address is holes left by players leaving early for the NFL. That and more going to be coming up when the Nitwits returns.
The Nitwits are brought to you by The Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By Health South, your rehab choice. Health South Altoona, ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, uniform, and mat rentals. By Reed and Salaney Orthodontics. Dr. Reed and Salaney provide orthodontics for children and adults.
We now return to the Nitwits. A roundtable discussion of Penn State football.
Well, this past week, defensive end Garrett Sickles and wide receiver Chris Godwin announced their intentions to forgo their senior seasons and head to the NFL. Gentlemen, was this a surprise? Do you agree with the decision? Which one's going to affect Penn State more?
Well, I don't say I was totally surprised in either case. I understand. I think Godwin I could get. Sickles I couldn't quite get, although I think there was a disconnect there. He was suspended for part of the Ohio State game, and then he didn't start for another game or two. So I don't know if there was something going on there, but I just didn't see him as somebody who would project that high. Maybe he just wants to get on with it.
Well, you never know what's going on family-wise. This is also a kid, Sickles, who, his best friends on the team were guys like Hackenberg and Brenneman and a lot of the guys who have moved on already. Sickles, my question about Sickles is, how much better was he going to become? He's 22 years old. Is he going to improve that much that he'll improve his draft stock next year? Sure. And so he was a really good defensive lineman for him. I just don't know that it was going to benefit that much. Godwin, we're talking a little bit during the break here. I think this is the perfect time for him to come out. You're off your third straight 130-plus yard receiving game in a bowl. Again, I don't know how much better how much he's going to improve his stock, and I think they have to kind of look at it that way. How much better are you going to get in terms of being an NFL prospect? So I think it's a smart move for Godwin.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it really hurts the program in the sense of I think it actually can help where kids being recruited are saying these guys are going there, they're taking care of business, they're going to the NFL. Some early, some on time. That's not a bad thing. Anytime you're going to have a good program, someone that's going to contend for the title every year, you're going to have this. So to me, this is just part of the process. This is what happens. As far as both guys going. Exactly. We don't know any of the situations and why and the decisions they made and why they're making them. And I'm fine with both. Both had great careers here. They really helped this program, and I couldn't be more of a fan of theirs as they move on to the next level.
Yeah, and we don't know. I mean, I know all the people that traveled out there, for dear old state and whatnot. It's not the same for for these kids that are playing. Their families are trucking out there, and a lot of them, are taxed to be able to afford it.
Sure.
And, we could be seeing, I think most people expect that this will be Barkley's last year this year.
Next year.
If next
Well, this-
year.
yeah, I mean,
next
next-
year,
next
if he
season.
says something. So we probably should get used to it. We saw guys that didn't even play in bowl games from other teams
Yeah.
to get on with the NFL.
Yeah, and that's more what I was saying. We should be happy that this happens because that means we've got the dudes to do it. I mean, you can't be a national contender if you don't have guys getting good early and leaving early and going to the NFL. So, so good for us, good for those guys that are recruiting the ones that are going on to the next
Two
level.
deep positions too. I mean, two positions where Penn
Yeah.
State has a lot
Yeah.
of talent. DN,
Sure.
they have a lot of guys coming up. You have redshirt freshmen like Shane Simmons coming in. Wide receiver, obviously. You look at the situation there. All we've heard about is how great Irvin Charles is.
Donald Driver.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
no, listen. I mean, they do have a lot of talent. Polk is coming back.
Right.
Yeah.
They have a guy, Dalen Darien, I think his name is, a redshirt freshman who has great hands. So they have a lot of
We
players
thought
at those
Johnson would
positions.
do a little bit more this year.
Yeah, I mean,
So
but
he'll
again, these guys are going to all have opportunities. Blacknall obviously was injured for a lot of the year, showed what he could do in the Big Ten championship game.
Right.
Was not available for the Rose Bowl, but you would imagine he'd be back.
Assuming he'll
in
be
Hamilton.
available for the opener.
Yeah, well, hey, he was out there in Pasadena, so I think he'd be ready for the opener.
All right, well, unlike last season where Penn State was a major player in the coaching carousel, Coach Joe Moorhead heard his name tossed around with a lot of coaching vacancies. He's saying, how important is that to this team?
Well, this is going to be the first year, if you're a Penn State fan, you're knocking on wood a little bit, that they're not going to have any coaching turnover since, all what hit a few years ago. So to have that stability is good, but I think it also speaks a little bit to what Joe was talking about before. Penn State was in a situation late in Joe Paterno's career where it was completely stagnant. They had one coaching change since 2004 until the end of his career. That's not necessarily good. I think having some turnover is good. So to be stable this year is good, but hey folks, get ready because people are going to be coming after Moorhead, people are going to be coming after Pride, people are going to be coming after a lot of these coaches. Sean Spencer, Terry Smith, I'm probably leaving people out, but they're going to be coming after these coaches the more successful Penn State is.
No question. It's the same as what we just discussed with the players. I mean, the better you do, look at Alabama. They get stripped every year. That's just
Some of it is somebody strips them or they exit somewhere.
or he tells them, hey, mutual decision. You're going to go ahead down the street here.
Well, listen, Penn State had a little bit of that, with the offensive coordinator last year. I mean, and that
wasn't mutual
again.
either.
But I'm saying, hey, it's time to move on. They're going in a different direction, and
No question.
again, there's nothing wrong with that. That's something that Penn State fans were insulated from for years and years and years. But it's part of
Blessing and
college
a
football
curse.
now. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, well, when the Nitwits returns, we're going to take a look at the final Nitwit of the year standings. We'll be right back.
The Nitwits are brought to you by W.S. Lee & Sons, your local food distributor specializing in distributing a full line of food service products to restaurants, schools, and institutions throughout central Pennsylvania. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Sunday.
Nitwit of the year standings. The host chair is going to take the edge because of the prediction for the regular season record.
Congratulations, Alex. You and Jamie were 8-4. You beat us out. I want to thank all the guest Nitwits of the week: Joey, Keith Conlon, Wally Richardson, Brandon Noble, Jerry Fisher filled in, Lou Prado, Sandy Barber, and of course Mike, WTAJ, The Mirror, FightOnState.com, the Altoona Public Access Channel, and Chris Owens, the Heart and Soul of the show. It's been a great year.
See you next year.
The Nitwits have been brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, an independent firm and a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue, Altoona, just ask rental, buy what you want, rent what you need. By The Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By Health South, your rehab choice. Health South Altoona, ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, uniform, and mat rentals. By Reed and Selene Orthodontics, Dr. Reed and Selene provide orthodontics for children and adults. By W.S. Lee & Sons, your local food distributor specializing in distributing a full line of food service products to restaurants, schools, and institutions throughout central Pennsylvania. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Sunday. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.